The word samurai has its origins in the Japanese term subaru, which means to serve. This term laid the foundation for the samurai class, which emerged around the 8th century during Japan's Heian period. To provide some context, this was a time when knights in Europe were embarking on the Crusades. Over time, the role of the samurai evolved, gradually shaping the cultured and disciplined warriors we are familiar with today. Before the Heian period, Japan's imperial court relied on conscripting inexperienced and often unreliable peasants for its military needs. Simultaneously, the country's nobility maintained private soldiers who were highly trained. By the late 8th century, the government began integrating these elite warriors into the nation's military structure, marking the emergence of the samurai. This transformation significantly impacted Japanese society. The birth of the samurai order brought about a major shift. The previous system of relying on peasants for the military was replaced by professional mercenaries, making enlistment a popular choice for elites and lower aristocrats seeking employment and valuable training. These changes also increased the influence of noble families on military policies, a development they welcomed with open arms. In the mid-12th century, the Minamoto clan's victory over the Taira clan in the Genpei War of 1180 had seismic consequences. It led to the rise of a military dictatorship under Minamoto Yoritomo, who became the first shogun. His rule marked the beginning of the Kamakura period in Japanese history, during which the shogun dispersed loyal samurai networks throughout the nation. These samurai acted as royal vassals, maintaining order in the provinces and running local governments on behalf of the shogun. This centralization of military control continued into the 13th century, when the invasions of Kublai Khan, the grandson of Genghis Khan, forced the entire nation to unite under the shogun's banner. To become a samurai, one had to start their training at a remarkably young age. In the medieval era, it was suggested to instill bravery in children from infancy. Samurai children from privileged families began learning the fundamentals of swordsmanship with wooden swords as early as 3 years old. Samurai children were already practicing with lethal blades by the age of 5. Formal training typically began before the age of 10, with boys often sent to specialized schools where they delved into samurai philosophies, spirituality, and combat. Samurai were bound by unwavering loyalty, not just to their shogun, but also to the daimyo, the feudal warlords governing different regions of Japan. These daimyo were expected to govern their territories wisely and benevolently, but as one might suspect, not all of them lived up to these ideals. Many daimyo were corrupt, power-hungry, and ruthless in their pursuit of territorial expansion, making life for the samurai far from easy. Serving a malevolent lord while remaining honor-bound often proved to be a moral dilemma for the samurai. Over time, this conflict contributed to the samurai class gaining a reputation for lawless and sometimes brutal behavior. Despite being powerful and respected, samurai were not considered nobility within Japan's rigid caste system during the medieval era. Instead, they were treated more like merchants, which meant they faced many of the same financial challenges as this social group. Furthermore, different shoguns imposed various rules governing their status, either bolstering or impeding the economic prospects of samurai. Many samurai often grappled with economic hardships, leading them to adopt frugal eating habits. While the aristocracy and military elite indulged in banquets featuring fine foods and beverages, samurai, like commoners, relied on husked rice as a staple. This rice was supposed to be provided as rations by their lords. When gearing up for battle, samurai might enhance their diet with items like abalone, chestnuts, and kelp. The life of a samurai adhered to a stringent routine. They rose at 4 a.m. for rigorous training regimens and studied martial arts and weaponry, often fighting with various blades. Samurai armor was flexible and evolved over time, becoming more elaborate but heavier. They also needed approval for marriage and experienced a shift toward a more patriarchal society over time. The portrayal of samurai in pop culture often focuses on their discipline, honor, and martial prowess. But the reality of their lives was far more complex. Beyond their roles as warriors, samurai were shaped by the challenges they faced, the hardships they endured, and the ethical dilemmas they confronted. The stories of samurai are not just tales of heroism, but also narratives of the human experience in all its facets.